Okay. Well, hello, everyone. This is Daniel Incandela coming back to you after a bit of sabbatical from video interviews. For the next one, this is a special video because it's coinciding with the anniversary edition of Inc. So I am very pleased to welcome Corrina Owens to this conversation. We're going to talk about marketing. Hello.
Hi, thrilled to be here, Daniel.
Would you mind introducing yourself to the millions of viewers that will be watching this, please?
I do not mind. Hello, millions of viewers. My name is Corrina Owens. I am the Senior ABM Manager here at Gong, a revenue intelligence platform.
Very well stated.
Well, thank you.
I often say to myself, why did I get into marketing? And on good days, it's an easy answer. On tough days, it's slightly different. Why did you get into marketing?
Yeah, I kind of fell into it. My background is actually in education. So I had a stint of teaching elementary education in Costa Rica, came back to the States during a recession, and quickly had to pivot my direction, which kind of worked out well because I didn't really see myself being in the education space for too long, even though it's a big passion of mine. Landed in, of all industries, I ended up landing in private equity, which was quite a pivot from education, and really got my feet wet with things like investors relations and branding, how to pitch funds, conferences and trade shows, and really found that what I enjoyed the most was connecting and providing value. And that's kind of segued really well into marketing. It's just a really nice blend of helping others, which I just love to do, creating value, demonstrating value, so much creativity, even though I think in the B2B space, we often forget to do that or even have fun with things. But then there's also the analytics, right? So I really had to prove what I was doing was driving value. So that worked really perfectly with my interests and skill sets. So that is how I found my way into marketing.
I love it. Do you have a favorite area of marketing in your experience?
Yes. And it's really, really clear throughout my history and how I just continuously embed myself in this, but it's customer advocacy. So everywhere I go, I take that with me, whether it's in mini campaigns or if it's really embedded in a full-on strategy. So that's definitely my favorite area.
Is that because that ties back to your passion for helping and showing value, or is it for other reasons?
No, 100%. It's a way for me to really find meaning in my work, rather than just how am I impacting a company's bottom line. So because it is that core passion, I find myself just always finding ways and leaning into it heavily. It doesn't feel like a strain or work or effort.
Yeah, I love it. And then, not that we have a least favorite, but what are areas of marketing that I would say you're less passionate about?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I'm less interested in, and I think I would say I'm less interested in analyst relations, and I'll tell you why. It's because I have been tasked with building that out at other organizations, the function and the strategy, and it's very apparent that it's a pay to play model, and I really don't subscribe to that as a core belief. So I think that I would have to say that I'm least of a fan of that, and I'm very much not a fan of doing things just because that's always the way things have been done. And I think that's a particular area of marketing that we could all use a nice refresh and revisiting and examining that area a bit deeper.
Very well put. I would
Thanks.
have to agree with you on all points there.
Thanks.
Um, I'm going to switch a little bit here because I have known you mostly through LinkedIn, and you are, I'd say you've absolutely found your authentic voice on that platform and just pretty direct about analysts. So have you always been that way, or did you go through a process to get to that point where I think you do such a good job of it?
Thank you. It's the highest compliment I can receive, is that I'm being authentic. It's very, very core. And I've been hearing a lot more of that lately. The more active I am being on some of these social platforms, is that it's very, when I speak, it's very clear and it's with intention, and the meaning is really coming through. I have always been that way, but I think that I have felt that my voice was needing to be constrained in the past, certainly earlier in my career. So I'm very intentional about displaying how to not do that and how to feel comfortable with using your voice and speaking up. And so I'm trying to be, just even by example, especially for women in our space and beyond, to be intentional, to really speak my mind openly and freely.
Yep. And if you don't mind me asking, what has helped you get past the previous feelings of restraint?
Yeah, I have a core drive that stems from some childhood incidences and the way I was raised. And I often mirror that to when I'm frightened by things in other situations, as a comparison, as what's the worst that could happen by putting out a post that doesn't get a lot of likes or comments or engagement? And how does it compare to some really tough times I've been through? And I'm reminded of my strength and who I am. And it helps me to push and persevere through that. So I think for anyone, I would kind of encourage them to look back at, like, what has really made them them? What do they stand for? And to not divert from that, because that's what makes you you. Yeah.
And what advice would you give to others that have something to say, may not have the tools of how to use that well, or the confidence, or there's another blocker? What advice do you have?
I would say reach out to maybe those that you admire or see that in, and get their advice. A lot of what I often recommend is to, one, take the time to form what your thought or opinion is on any subject, and block that time, and just see what comes out, and then practice that on others, share that with others, see what their feedback is, see what their response is. But it's really important to find and build your own community of advocates and supporters. And that is often what helps people, I think, propel to have the confidence to make that leap. So if you're not finding that you have that in your own organization or in your private life, I would really encourage you to seek to find that, and make that ask of them, to just take a couple minutes of their time. But it's so important, I think, to cultivate a network of people that believe in you and support you.
Great, great. And what things are on your mind these days, in terms of things that you want to talk about more, or issues, or ideas that you have for things?
Yeah, well, I have made no secret that the recent Roe versus Wade is top of mind for me. I feel like I have always been a champion for equal rights of all, probably particularly women, but anybody that doesn't have a voice or a platform. But that decision kind of took my hand, and it slammed it down on the button to be like, this is your focus. You can't escape it, so do something about it. So it has been a main focus of mine to help other females just have a platform about anything, making sure they're more visible, making sure our voices are more well represented throughout our space. I think that's a place where I can have a little bit of control at the moment and can start to help with that. I think too, I think being very empathetic and sensitive to our customers and our future customers during this time. I have I think a unique capability to be able to do that in an authentic way. And I think that I'm going to be really focused on driving genuine relationships. So I won't be as focused as maybe, driving a deal from a very tactical perspective. I'm going to be much more focused on creating those moments and meaningful connections, because we're all going through these challenging times in different ways and different aspects. And I think I'm in a position where I can be more of that relationship builder. So that's going to be a key focus of mine as well.
Great. And how do you stay fresh and unstressed and not burn out like so many of us are these days?
Yeah, I wish I took a lot more of my own advice that I give to others. I think that I definitely try and make a lot more space to free myself of judgment when I feel that way. So when I start to have those moments of high stress, anxiety, I give myself permission to feel that stress first and foremost, and not judge myself for feeling this way by making comparisons. I think that's a big hindrance to overcoming those feelings. So I give myself that space. And then I also try and find space to just be creative. I think having a creative outlet is really important. So I try and make sure that I'm staying on top of things that I maybe do outside of work. So involving myself in content that I'm really passionate about that maybe doesn't tie back to the business. I'm very passionate about aerial circus arts. So that's something that I try and bring back and incorporate more into my life too. And I find that when you allow yourself to have space to do things that just selfishly interest you, it really does allow you to kind of show up more as your whole self and free a little bit of that stress. There's only so much we can control, but that's one way I try to do that.
Yep. I think I'd be a very poor interviewer if I did not pick up on aerial circus arts. Is that what you said?
Yes. So if you've ever seen the Cirque du Soleil show, the things that look like the two ribbons or curtains, that's my primary apparatus.
That is unbelievable. How long have you been doing that?
9 years.
9 years.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. How would you compare that to marketing?
Oh God. It's very technical, which is often, especially for B2B digital marketers, is such a skill set to have, but very creative at the same time. So it's very technical from the perspective of, if I wrap myself incorrectly, I could fall to the ground and die, but very free because I can get into a move safely, but I can add my own flair or style to that move so that it doesn't mirror somebody else doing that same exact move. So it's a very good outlet for my brain. And I actually do find that I can uncover some pathways that are in my brain that are helpful for my work as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I am so afraid of heights, so my admiration for you is only risen. And you're afraid of heights too?
I'm terrified. So I'm constantly putting myself in a position of fear. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I will have so many questions for you after this interview where I'm asking you all these questions.
Totally.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for being so open so far. We're going to talk marketing now.
Okay.
And we're going to go all over the place. What are some of your least favorite buzzwords that we hear in marketing?
Oh gosh, this is a whole, I know you've seen
me
talk. Yeah. First of all, I am a huge fan of just saying things simply. Just speak plain English. If you use a word more than 3 times in a pitch, you've lost me. So yeah, buzzwords, if we could just destroy them, I would. I think double click is the one thing that I'm really upset with that's become so common in SaaS. And then TLDR. People now say that when they speak out loud.
They say, I've not heard someone say that yet.
Yes, they go, the TLDR of this is, I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing? So I think we too often, and it's just so funny how people just quickly pick up on it and it just goes like wildfire. But I could go on and on.
I could too.
What about you?
Well, I have caught myself saying the odd word or two mid-sentence, and I die a little bit inside. I think double click is probably the biggest offender. Yeah. Circling back, laser
I'm a big fan.
focused.
Yes, yes.
Um, I'm trying to think of some others.
The funny thing is I will end up speaking like this in my personal life. And that's how I really get called out is people be like, what are you talking about? What are you saying?
Yeah, I I do I mean, I am very similar to you in that I'm so intentional in just trying to speak simply and English and just keep it normal. But
Mm-hmm.
we're in our own culture here. It's hard not to absorb some of it.
I know. Well, we're in it
Okay.
together.
Um, what is the hardest job, in your opinion, in all of marketing?
Mm, I think proving the fruits of your labor or value. I think that's the hardest part. Maybe followed by effective storytelling. I think that those are the two things that I see most marketers struggle with the most. And I mean storytelling from the perspective of how do you effectively convey to an audience what you're solving for them? And also, how do you convey, which ties, I think, to my first point, how do you convey what your own work is doing from a broad business perspective? And I think this ties really well with what you just said about buzzwords is I've spoken with even a lot of people more senior to me where they've reviewed with me some of their decks or talking points that they've shared with the board, and I see acronyms in it. And I call them out and I say, this only makes sense to you. So it's so hard, I think, for most marketers to storytell and convey the results or the value that they're driving beyond their own vision or their own scope, right? The broader impact here. Those would be the things that I say is the hardest part.
Yeah, yeah, well put. Could you help us understand what is ABM? What is ABX? What is the difference between the two, please?
Yes. Okay. First off, while fully understanding that this is the space I'm in, I think also in marketing, all we've done is we've created just a bunch of subset of marketers who are all very much essentially doing the same thing. You've got customer marketing, product marketing, ABM, ops, digital, like content. It's across the board. So I always try and simplify this for folks because it's still very new and a lot of organizations are still trying to adopt it, but it's a strategy. It's a go-to-market strategy for how you're going to attract, engage, and convert your must-win accounts. I think ABX here becomes a little bit different as the way it's being described in the industry is much more around experiences, and it's experiences across the full life cycle. Whereas I think ABM can be focusing very much just on net new logo acquisition. And I do tend to see that ABX, when spoken in the industry, is thinking about a customer holistically in the entirety of their life cycle. So the X in ABX really just stands for experience. And I think that that's where you're going to start to see people are focusing a lot more on not only the experiences they're driving and how they're driving it, but the impact it has on the entire customer life cycle.
Yep, very well put. What do you think is the hottest trend in marketing right now?
Well, I mean, I would be ignorant if I didn't use TikTok in that answer. So I think TikTok is a major channel trend, but I think also just the way we're delivering content, like there is just such a push of doing small content delivery in a way that's fun, human, and much more matches how we are now just living our day-to-day lives, which is primarily through this device, a phone, right? We're glued to our phone screens. So being able to provide valuable content in a way that's fun and entertaining is definitely the trend. I think also influencer marketing is having a kind of new rise in B2B. So people are really leaning into now this idea of peer-to-peer. I mean, who can tell your story better than your customer, right? Your audience is then going to be able to see themselves when you have your customer really telling their story. And that's where influencer marketing really shine. So I do see that more and more B2B companies are taking note of both. And I think often those two are paired together.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for that. We're going to wrap up here shortly. I have one more question, but is there a question you wish I had asked you or I should ask you?
No, I actually really like the start of the conversation. I think it really laid the groundwork for me to feel comfortable to speak to some of the other areas. So no, I feel good about the way this has went.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to fast forward a little bit in your career when you are a CMO. Can you tell me what is your vision for marketing as a CMO?
I think it comes back to my core focus of helping others. And I want to see more of a trend, I think, of CMOs really building up their team to be top performers. I think, of course, they're going to be the C-level audience that speaks and conveys the business impact that marketing has to the different C-level suite members. But I think really taking a step back and being a champion for your team and helping them to develop and helping them to shine. So, if I do decide to take that path, I'm going to kind of relinquish my microphone and platform a little bit and use it more as an opportunity to lift up my team. So really being a team builder is what I would see for myself if I did take that position.
Yes, I made a very big assumption there. You even want to be a CMO.
Most people do make that assumption because we have in business, we have a very linear track across all disciplines of what it means to excel and rank. And I think this future of work is a buzz topic or trending topic, but we absolutely change what it means to be successful in B2B. And I'm really keen to see this play out and see how we continue to evolve what that looks like.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to watch you do that. Thank you so much for joining me. It means a lot to me.
Same, Daniel. Thank you for all that you do for the community and all the content you put out. It's an honor to be here with you.
Oh, thank you so much.